First on the docket, Shanann's brother speaks. A man who has been banned from many YouTube channels. If anyone said anything about his sister, he would go ballistic on them. Well, Mr. Frankie Ruzick wrote on his Facebook page that he highly recommends American Murder, The Family Next Door. He stated that the director made sure that we were a part of the whole process and we met the whole team personally. They made sure we were okay with them making this before they even started, unlike Lifetime's horrible movie, which everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think that the documentary on Netflix was done much better, and it was taken from information that for nearly all of it has already been released in some form or another by the police authorities. We've talked about this. Chris Watts is what helped us start our channel here because we were so unimpressed by the coverage that was being done by the local news channels about this particular case. This is one of those cases that will never, ever go away. Now the word on the street is that Chris Watts was triggered by the mere thought that this documentary was produced and is now out there on the internet. And he's curious as to what people think of it. Well, I think most people will conclude that Chris Watts is not a good human being at all because he admitted to the deaths of his wife and 2 daughters and unborn son. He will never get out of prison, and he has about this much chance of getting a new hearing regarding on withdrawing his guilty plea. That's right, 0% chance of getting a hearing on this particular matter. And think about it. He's confessed to the police after the interrogation. He confessed to his father before the interrogation. And he explained away that he just made up the story about Shanann hurting the children in his post-interview when the agents went up to talk with him to fill in some blanks, so to speak. That's all a confession, Chris. You're going nowhere. Let's just say they threw out your original confession, which isn't going to happen. No judge is going to do that. They still have your other confession. Make yourself comfortable there, Chris. You're going nowhere. Next on the docket, what Netflix didn't go into in their documentary, The American Killer, A Family Next Door. Now, for those of you who don't already know, a lot of you have joined the channel recently as a result of finding new information related to that guy named Chris. We won't use his last name. Why? Because a certain family has convinced YouTube that if you use their name, then you should be completely demonetized. So the bottom line is, if you go to our playlists, we have all kinds of information that was not discussed regarding that guy named Chris in that Netflix documentary. We have all of the audio interviews that take place while he's in custody. We have all the videos that they didn't show of the interrogation. We have the videos that show him in custody at the detention center. And most importantly, we have all of the audio related to the interviews of Nicolekessinger. Now, listen to those. You decide whether you think there was any further involvement. Was she being completely candid, or was she holding back to protect herself in some way? Now, Chris, that guy, he never, ever implicated Nicolekessinger in any way. Certainly the police haven't charged her, and we give her the presumption of innocence. But there are lots of theories out there. Now, the good thing about the internet is that everybody has a theory and everybody has an opinion, but they have to be based on facts. I've said long ago, I don't expect to ever see Nicolekessinger charged in any way whatsoever regarding anything that guy named Chris did, unless he implicates her directly. At this point, he has no indication to think that he ever will. Go to all of our playlists. You'll be happy that you did. There's more information regarding that guy named Chris than you can possibly imagine. We had it all, and we usually had it first. Well, here's a blast from the past. Remember Eric Menendez? That's right, the same Eric Menendez, along with his brother Lyle, who were convicted back in 1992 of murdering their parents back in 1989. Well, needless to say, Eric Menendez is still serving his life sentence without the possibility of parole in sunny San Diego. He's currently being housed at the R.J. Donovan Correctional Facility, where he's obviously currently incarcerated. Well, apparently somebody sent Mr. Menendez a package. And within that package, guess what it was? That's right, marijuana. So, of course, the police have launched an investigation. They put Mr. Eric Menendez in the SHU, the Special Administrative Segregated Housing Unit, where you can't be with anybody until they get to the bottom of this. Now, obviously, that is contraband, and you can't send it. The police will find out from where the package was sent and who was the individual that sent that package. It's probably not that complex to figure out. The big question then will be, will Mr. Eric Menendez face additional charges for conspiracy to introduce contraband into a correctional facility? One could only wonder why any DA would bother wasting his time on that. Mr. Menendez is serving a life sentence. He's going nowhere. Throw him in the hole for 30 days and is handled administratively, but you never know. Menendez may want to go to trial just so he can get out of his normal environment and, go outside a little bit, take a bus trip over to the courthouse, maybe have a trial for a few days. We'll watch and see what happens with Eric Menendez. Does he deserve to be further prosecuted? Wait and see. Next on the docket, Scott Peterson could actually get a new trial. Now, as you may recall, Scott Peterson was convicted many years ago regarding the death of his wife and his unborn child. He was given the death penalty. And roughly about a month ago, the California Supreme Court vacated the death penalty sentence for Scott Peterson. Well, now, in continued post-conviction relief motions filed by Scott Peterson's attorneys, the California Supreme Court has said, you know what? There may be one issue here that has some merit. So we're going to order, the California Supreme Court has ordered the trial court to hold a hearing regarding some juror conduct on the case. This is the kind of thing that is going to make the prosecutor have a little bit of a pucker factor, all right? The same court that already threw out the death penalty conviction because the judge didn't allow qualified jurors to remain, the Supreme Court has now said, look into this juror misconduct, which may have resulted in an unfair trial. And if that hearing is held, the trial court will have to decide whether a new trial is warranted. And I assure you, if the trial court denies Scott Peterson a new trial, it will be appealed, and ultimately it may get to the California Supreme Court. Now, this court's already been found to have made error once. Do you think he wants to make it again? Do you think he wants to give Scott Peterson a new trial? We'll have to wait and see. The issue as it relates to this new hearing is to determine whether Peterson should be granted a new trial on the grounds that juror number 7 committed prejudicial misconduct by not disclosing her prior involvement with other legal proceedings, including but not limited to being a victim of a crime. So it is alleged in the petition, and the California Supreme Court agrees, that juror number 7 may have committed prejudicial misconduct by not disclosing her prior involvement with other legal proceedings, including but not limited to being a victim of a crime. Now, this juror was initially an alternate juror, but she was given a seat when another juror was discharged. She later wrote a book about her experience. According to Peterson's attorneys, they believe that juror number 7 worked just a little too hard to get on the jury. She reportedly claimed she was willing to serve despite her employer telling her she wouldn't be paid for her time as a result of her missing work. This is significant. As I said, originally, the California Supreme Court overturned Peterson's death sentence due to significant errors in jury selection. Here, it sounds like there may be a juror who literally wanted to get on the case, maybe for financial gain, maybe she had an agenda, but she didn't report that she had involvement with the legal system, including protection order cases that she was involved in. Of jury selection is called voir dire, and it means to speak the truth. And what that means is that jurors are supposed to speak the truth. And it's to find out at the end of the day whether somebody can be a fair and impartial juror. And if you have a bias, a motive for conviction or an acquittal as it relates to the parties in this particular case, you're not giving the other side a fair shot. And if you have a juror who is biased and she took that bias and maybe tainted the other jurors, that will also be significant. The fact that the Supreme Court has already said there was juror issues, and now it's being remanded to develop a further record as it relates to juror issues, makes me think Scott Peterson may actually have a shot at this. And the other reason is it's California. Everything drags on in California from what I can tell. Not licensed there, but it just seems like everything always drags on in California. Now you also have to remember was that there was no physical evidence relating to Scott Peterson actually being involved in the death of his wife and son. It was circumstantial. Now, don't get me wrong. There was some pretty strong circumstantial evidence which would show some consciousness of guilt. Let's take a quick look at that. First, trained dogs picked up Lacey's scent at the Berkeley Marina where Peterson claimed he went fishing when Lacey vanished. Obviously, her remains were found later close to the same area. Peterson visited the crime scene repeatedly. The tarp that Peterson used on his fishing trip was covered in gasoline in his shed. Gasoline was known by several people to destroy DNA at that time. Perhaps it's just a coincidence. Another tarp was found buried in fertilizer, also known to destroy DNA. That was according to Dr. Henry Lee, who testified at Peterson's trial. Now, Peterson told detectives he stopped fishing because it began to rain, although there was no precipitation in the Berkeley Marina on the day in question, according to the harbor master. Peterson claimed Lacey was watching a cooking segment on television when he left their home on December 24th, but the show he referenced actually aired on December 23rd. Lacey wore a diamond necklace, sapphire ring, and band each and every time she left her home. On the day she disappeared, the jewelry was left in her bedroom. Now, after Lacey and Connor's remains were found, authorities caught Peterson close to the Mexico border with his hair and beard dyed blonde, an identification that didn't belong to him, several credit cards, clothes, knives, 4 cell phones, a rope, camping supplies, and roughly $15,000 in cash. Circumstantial evidence? Possibly. The jury believes so. Was it enough to convict? Well, it was several years ago, back in 2004. Would it be enough to do it again today? We'll have to wait and see if Scott Peterson gets a new trial. That's right, Nicolekessinger. Where have I heard that name before? Oh, that's right. She was involved with that guy named Chris a while back. Kind of dropped off the face of the earth for a while, for at least the last 2 years. Well, guess what? She's back, and she's going to the courts to legally change her name. She has filed for a petition to change her name. This petition was filed in the Jefferson County Court on October 1st of this year. There's a hearing set for next Thursday. I guess we'll have to see if I can make it up there and check it out. Now, we all remember those audio recordings that you can listen to here regarding interviews with the police. And who can forget the photograph of her striking a pose in her bikini with that guy named Chris in the background taking those photos? Oh, yeah, while he was still married to his wife, Shanann, and having 2 young daughters, and his wife being pregnant as well. Yep, that guy. So what does it take to actually change your name in most states? I can tell you in Colorado, which is the one we're dealing with here, is that you simply have to file a petition with the local court. And here it's done in the county in which you reside. and you file an affidavit stating that this is who you are, and you have to give a reason for the reason that you're seeking a name change. Now, we're unable to get Miss Kessinger's affidavit because her attorney has asked that the case be sealed, which means that no public access. Have a real problem with cases being sealed since these are supposed to be public records. So once the affidavit is submitted, she has to submit a criminal background check at her expense, disclosing any criminal dispositions. Apparently being potential key witness in a case may not come into play. But then you have to publish notice of the petition in local newspapers 3 times and then filing a proof of publication with the court. Haven't seen any of those publications just yet, so we'll see if they can get them done by the time the hearing is set. And then ultimately at the hearing, the court will consider the petition. Now, Colorado is pretty keen to prevent fraud, identity theft, and other evils that may arise from a name change. And the petitions can be denied if the name change would be detrimental to anyone else. It's if it was made for a fraudulent or illegal purpose or even improper in the eyes of the judge. Now, Ms. Kessinger was never convicted of anything, but the courts have a higher hurdle if someone had in fact been convicted of a crime. Once Ms. Kessinger gets that name change, she would basically be able to change everything and, in fact, go to the Social Security Administration to get her name reissued. She can also then go to DMV and get a new driver's license in the new name. No word yet on the new name that Ms. Kessinger would like to use, but as soon as we find out, we'll let you know. All right, that's all we have for today. I hope you had a great week. Next week will always be better. Remember that. And we will see you next time on Crime Talk.